Hello. Continuing on the last idea. Um, Not really the last idea, but a recent idea. So, topic is rejection of self. I think so. I've outlined a pattern. Maybe I have it somewhere here. No, it's on the other account. Um, okay, so I've outlined a pattern where there is frustration that builds up, and people escape their emotions by or they relieve pressure of their frustration, of their emotions, into other sources, other activities. They try to dissipate the pressure. I'm gonna say distractions. I don't mean distractions towards a goal, even though they technically are. I mean distractions as in things that distract you from how you're feeling. You're extremely bored, you're frustrated. You choose to do something that makes you forget how you're feeling currently and not experience that pressure fully. Right? So I don't mean the no distractions, go hustle and grind. I don't mean in that way. I mean literal distractions. Uh, okay, so you have frustration, and then you avoid the frustration or other negative emotions by dissipating them in other activities, which by the time you go and try to do something, whatever activity you're trying to do or whatever you're trying to accomplish, it has like already lost its pressure. It's like a balloon that got deflated, right? And that just drains you over time. And the insight that I got now is I think that this disposition towards distractions is one of the deepest forms of self-rejection. Because if you really think about that in like dumbed down or abstract terms, what like metaphysically what is happening here? Frustration is emotion, which is a form of self-expression, self-invocation. I don't know if this is the correct word. Like a self-provoked emotion. It's if you didn't have emotions, you wouldn't exist. What makes you is emotions that you feel, in a sense. Like yes, you could be this logical person who's a robot that does everything as they do, and you could argue that that's your sense of self. I don't agree with that. Uh, Personally, I don't think that is. I think that is someone who has suppressed their sense of self in order to become a robot. Like they've killed a part of themselves. Whatever, I don't need to explain. So, I think that when you deny yourself um, emotions that are, to me, a form of self-invocation, um, how do you know you exist? I think, therefore I am. But the same also applies to, on a more simple way, how do you know that you're alive? I can feel things. I experience things. I see things. I perceive things, which are all forms of feelings, if you really think about it. Like when you have a feeling of touch, when you see something, they're all um, your own. Um, y- they show your ability to respond to things, if that makes sense. And If you were to take that away, then you're taking away a part of what proves that you exist. It's like imagine if you couldn't see anything, feel anything, you couldn't hear anything, and you were incapable of thought. What, like, that just makes you dead. You're literally just dead. You might be like in a brain coma and technically alive. Your body might still be there, but uh, to me, like your consciousness or you, well, if we say that you are your consciousness, then you are technically dead. Um, in that regard, because you don't have an avenue to perceive the world, you don't have an avenue to experience the world, and feeling things like frustration is one of those avenues, right? So frustration is one of forms of self-expression or self emotions is a form of self. They're only possible because you exist, and there are responses, I guess, that only exist because you exist. And when you are um, choosing to dissipate certain emotions with distractions or other whatever distractions you may have, um, to dissipate these feelings, what are you doing? You are trying to not exist, or you're trying to kill a part of yourself. Um, for example, imagine you feel very strong emotions towards a certain person. If you were to, and that brought pain upon you, and you tried to escape that pain by dissipating it, that would mean that you are rejecting the emotion you feel towards them, right? So any form of escape is also a rejection of the original emotion. And with that formulation, distractions are ways to stop being yourself, to stop playing the game that is your life for a brief moment, just by forgetting that you exist. It's like, imagine, it's like going to sleep if you really think about it. Your brain goes into a coma. Well, there is sleeping, there's a lot of memory consolidation or whatever, but from a sense of, um, have you ever had this feeling where you're feeling really tired, but you really don't want to sleep? You want to do something, you want to keep experiencing being awake. Like you have some sort of optimism towards being awake, and you're just not done with the day yet. You want it to last longer, and you don't want to sleep. That comes from like sleep is a way of you're basically dead for a few hours in a way. Like your consciousness isn't active and you're not actively experiencing things. And so, for example, let's say you have some really painful experience and you are looking for some form of anesthesia for it, for some form of uh, something to dull the feeling. Maybe you take some sleeping pills or something just to sleep it off. That is a form of rejection of um, the circumstances that you're facing in your life. So if you see someone that is permanently sleeping, like sleep maxing or chain sleeping, they sleep 16 hours per day, every day, and they just wake up, they're so bored and unengaged, and they go to sleep. That is a form of escape, and that is a form of trying to fast forward and just skip your life because you do want to play it. You're not interested. It's the opposite of um, not wanting to go to sleep. Haha, obviously. Right? So these distractions are one of the deepest forms of rejection of self, and it's inability or lack of desire to, when you're pursuing these distractions, metaphysically, what you're saying is, I don't want to live my life. I don't want to experience the things that I'm experiencing. I don't want to play this game that is my life. And that's what that's what all distractions have at their root. They're all mechanisms to dull your brain by hijacking it with something else. And they are escapes from living your own life. And hence, one of the greatest forms of rejection of self. Now that I've realized this, with that formulation, if I reflect on myself, um, then I have that kind of aligns with certain events where one thing happens and another thing happens and another thing happens, and over time, I became more and more uh, rejecting of self. First, it was little signs like I was I don't know, I just had a little bit less energy. I was less passionate, less open, less engaged with my own life. That was like the first thing. Then I had like extreme. I don't know. I'll need to think about that. But I've definitely had a period where I had extreme disdain of self and extreme self-hate, and that was followed by the sleep maxing period. Like I was just so like sick of my life, and I didn't see any way I could get anything I wanted out of life. So I would just sleep all day every day. Because only in my dreams I could um, have the experience of having the things that I want. It was like limited edition. It was closed door. And that super strong feeling, that super strong rejection of self reached a even bigger high when I have uh, questioned whether it was even worth it, like whether who I was being was even worth being. Like I made up a super, I don't know, I made some story that was appealing to myself, and then I started questioning it. I was like, why do I live by these rules? When I realized that they were completely arbitrary, they're not. It was just something I inherited from somewhere. I don't know, fucking comics or some shit, or anime or whatever. I don't know. Or society. I don't know. I inherited those from somewhere. They weren't mine. I didn't choose them. And realizing that was like a very strong blow to how I saw myself. I was like, well, there isn't actually any merit in the way I was acting, and everything was for nothing. Um, and that led to the greatest like blowout I had ever. That was complete collapse of self. Um, for a period of like a year or so, I basically didn't do anything at all. Like full. cripple level. Um, and that is characterized by just not. Huh. So I. What happened there maybe is I rejected myself or I got disillusioned with who I was, and that made me stop wanting to play the game that I was playing and completely lost interest. It's like, I don't know, let's say you're playing Minecraft or some shit and you play it for a couple of days, and at some point you're just like, why this? And then you just log off and you never install it again, you know? Um, Kind of like that, but with your own being. And that kind of explains why I have like trouble connecting with my emotions. Maybe because somewhere like in an underlying like view of it, I reject them because they're not like I instantly look to dissipate them, all of them. They're just all invalid. I don't know. Maybe that's far-fetched. I don't know. Maybe that's on point. Maybe that's far-fetched. I don't know. Um, what would be less far-fetched? So, but how do you resolve rejection of self? Like even right now, I kind of understand what I, on theory, need to do, but if I try to do it, it will just be willpower grind. I don't really want it. For me, like playing this game is still not engaging, not that interesting. I don't know what do I think caused my self-rejection. It was, if I were to draw a diagram, it would be something like I had a set of beliefs, and those beliefs were what I considered to be, I guess they were my values, right? And I had a model of the world where, I don't know, I don't think I thought that much back then. I had my beliefs and I had some loose feeling of belonging to the world. I felt that people needed me. I felt that I had an impact. I felt that things I did mattered or held some significance, or if I pushed myself, I could inspire people around me. I think I've mentioned before the idea about the path to my grave being covered with flowers. Everyone I touch turns into a flower. That was like my view of the world. Um, and I saw some form of aesthetic in that, or I enjoyed the idea of that. I was engaged with that. And what happened is, again, I got disillusioned in people in general. I've realized that I'm the only one who walks the path like that. What the fuck is everyone else doing? I think I had this vision of great generosity. I believed that I was Jesus or something. And what changed is I realized that this generosity, um, it wasn't warranted for. You can only have desire to be generous or have goodwill towards someone if you feel like um, they deserve it. If you do it without feeling like they deserve it, this is extremely, it's just weakness. Giving shit to people that you don't deserve literally just says that look how weak I am. I am so ashamed of having resources that I try to give them to people regardless of whether they deserve it or not. Unconditional love is um, something that the weak offer. It's something that the weak like to think about and play around with this idea. Um, Masking that, oh, I just love people unconditionally. I'm Jesus. In reality, it's not. You're not fucking Jesus. You're just weak. You're not capable of um asserting what you want, and you're just completely weak to any form of influence or pressure, and you just instantly cave. That's not strength. You're not Jesus. You're just weak and easy to manipulate. You're naive. And this realization, or this change of thought, um, made me um, lose interest in that belief system. It made me completely devalue everything that I was raised to believe and everything that I held at my core and at the center of my world. And it turned towards a form of resentment towards myself. Because once I started seeing that it is weakness, I saw how just pathetic I was for being that way. I didn't sit there and think, "Oh my God, look at me. I'm such a cool giant. Look at my sacrifices." I realized I was just pathetic the whole time. I was creating that image to hide from my own lack of self-worth. Deep inside, I see myself as worthless, and because of that, I need to anchor to the worth I provide to others to give myself a worth. Because outside of the worth I provide to others, I have zero worth, zero intrinsic value. It's like people that are dependent on other people emotionally, except for I was dependent on giving things to people. Which is not strength, it's just cowardness, it's just weakness. And maybe that realization made me realize that all of the feelings that I felt were weakness, and maybe that made me reject myself because I also attribute everything wrong with the world to weakness. And I realized for a long time I thought that the world was evil and I will be the one to kind of shed the light into the world. But then when I saw weakness in myself, I realized that I was just as I don't mean evil in a moral sense, or maybe I do, I don't know. But I realized because I was weak, I was also not exempt from being evil. Um, To me, my generosity was a form of evil. Um, I'm not gonna elaborate or explain why. That's going to be kind of complicated. Maybe another time. And when I started seeing myself as evil, I maybe just stopped liking myself as a person. It's kind of weird. What made me like myself in the as a person was that little story that I was telling myself. And then when I got rid of that story, um, just by disillusionment, I've never found a more interesting story to tell myself. There's just no interesting story I can think of. Um, just nothing seems to kind of pop off. Nothing seems to kind of create resonance. I would love to feel strongly about some cause or some, but maybe that's also a form of justification of weakness. What if I'm just presenting it this way to play the, oh, I'm such a capable little genius. I don't have the right configuration. If only I wanted things, then I would be unstoppable. Maybe that's another cope. I don't know. That's plausible. Here it's completely plausible. It could be. Um, Rejection of self, distractions. I don't know. I have no idea how to heal this. I don't understand how to work on this. I don't understand what makes you even like yourself. It's not your accomplishments. Those don't matter. It's not your social standing either. It's not anything external. It needs to be something internal, but I have no idea what that could be. I'm sure the answer is super simple. Do not reject yourself, you just need to love yourself. Yeah, and how the fuck do we do that, sir? Cold showers, that's the answer, obviously. That's it, gang. The answer is always cold showers. But on a serious note, I don't know. Okay, let me try to kind of recaption this to see if maybe by making it simpler I get another idea. Fuck, I forgot how I wanted to do that. Frustration is just another example of your own reactions to the world, aka part of yourself. When you don't want to have these reactions or you want to just drain them away, you're disengaging from yourself, you're rejecting yourself. There's nothing new here. I mean, I know the simple, easy answer to this, but I don't like it, and it's extremely black pill, which is just take the imprint pill. Whatever was imprinted in you in childhood is what you are. It's kind of like but I feel like that's such a cheap answer. It's not really that useful. It doesn't really allow you to do anything. Like, what am I gonna do? Fucking kill myself and get another childhood? Huh? Go like artificially make myself have a stroke so I could just reform um like core beliefs? Huh? Like obviously those are not really practical options. The stroke might be actually doable, but holy fuck. Come on. What the fuck? Maybe maybe this formulation is wrong. What if the formulation is more that you don't reject yourself. It's more that you don't have the courage to be yourself. What about that? What about that formulation? What if we formulate it this way? You have frustration, and if you were to address this frustration, that would be like facing it head on. But you don't have the courage to do that, and therefore you find ways to dissipate and escape this frustration. What does that change? What does this formulation change? Okay, let's say it's courage. Then what? Like, what does that change? Okay, this is gonna be even more abstract because it's just based on sensations. I think the reason why I run away, why I seek distractions from emotions is it's not even a rejection of self. Maybe it's I feel like I just don't even want to go there. I just don't have any enthusiasm about doing that. I just have such like a negative association with it that it's like I don't know, let's say you have like a fucking I don't know, you've been in a marriage for 10 years and it's just been shit throughout and then she cheats on you or some shit and then you're like and then she's like, "Oh, we can start fixing things." Like, oh, are you going to be enthusiastic about it? Or are you going to be like, "Oh, yes, I would love to bring back this 10 years of hell." Like, you wouldn't feel any enthusiasm towards it. It would be lost. Maybe you would have felt it at some point previously, but um, everyone has a limit, and once that's crossed, you just lose it. And you will never want to go back. No matter how much this person pleads, there is nothing they can do to win you back. I mean, the only way they could win you back is by offering you something greater than what you have lost in the exchange that you've had. This goes back to the trading principle that I've explained. So when you speak to people, there is you might have like a balance between them. For example, your energy balance between them is minus 9,099, right? Being 10 years with someone, it's gonna go crazy overdraft. And for you, when something goes this far negative, it becomes irrecoverable. It becomes like a debt that they're never going to be able to pay back. Generally, it's like Imagine someone like cheated on you after being with you for 10 years and making you suffer for 10 years. Um, what do they need to do to compensate for the loss of 10 years of your life? But not just loss, the amount of energy that you put in and the amount of maybe disrespect or what other shit that they did over the period of the 10 years, uh, that will make you be like, hey, continuing to talk to this person is profitable, which is what would bring you enthusiasm, right? At what point will you be like, yep, you've done enough? I actually feel excited about talking to you again because you've proven yourself. Like, less theorycraft, possibly. What could it be? Because I was speaking about this. I was actually speaking to my mother, and she asked me this question. I just told her, get out. Like, it's lost. Like, you already fucked up. There's nothing. You as a person are not valuable enough to compensate this level of damage. Like, in Russian, we have a saying, to build something isn't to destroy something. As in, what it means is it takes way more effort to build something than it takes to destroy something. So your ability to destroy something might be greater than your ability to build something. You might do, I don't know, let's imagine you're an employee at a small branch of some banking company, but you made some mistake that made the entire bank lose $10 trillion. What kind of actions would it take on your part as a single employee who has no special skills to pay back that level of debt? Like even killing yourself like 10 times and torturing yourself uh for like 30 years or whatever. And just like how many lifetimes would it take you to pay back $10 trillion? And if we consider the amount of time it's going to take you, population is going to grow, economy is going to grow, inflation is going to happen. Infinity. The answer is infinity. You are just not valuable enough to be able to compensate the level of damage that you've caused in that situation. So the question comes back. Let's say you had a trade with someone and you had this like 10 years divorce. What could you possibly do to compensate for that level of neglect? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's lost. Maybe like 20 years of, I don't know, whatever. I'm not gonna explain. What it will take extreme effort. And it, even with extreme effort, even if you go peak results, it will still take 20 years. Do you realize how long that is, right? So what I think maybe has happened is through poor engagement with myself, I have created a depth with myself where I don't feel enthusiasm from playing my own life. I've done so much damage to myself that enthusiasm does not get released. But okay, let's say if we don't assume that it's impossible. Let's say if we actually try to, right? Let's theorycraft. Let's start with the divorce one. What are you supposed to do? Okay, we're not gonna go with the divorce one. That one's going to get vulgar very quickly. Um, fuck, all of them are gonna get vulgar. Not even in like a sexual way. They're just gonna get vulgar. Like they're gonna get very ugly very quickly. Uh, or maybe that's my own consciousness. Maybe I'm just a fucking sadistic person or something. I don't know. Okay, let's say someone wronged you. How can they rebuild let's say they have absolute willingness to do whatever it takes to rebuild the balance as quickly as possible. How would that be done? And they've done the greatest form of betrayal at some point previously. They've completely shown you that they've completely fucked you over in something, right? And betrayal is considered, the highest form of sin or whatever. So they've done something um, unforgivable, right? How can you how can you possibly make up for that? I don't know. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything that anyone can even do like repeatedly to like what would it be? Like if we go super trivial, if we go like super like dumb shit, like oh just treat me with respect, treat me with kindness, give me everything I want, uh or cater to me. Let's just say that, right? That's very simple. How much catering would it take? Do you think I don't know, let's say you fucking killed someone's sister or I don't know. Let's say you had a fucking vaccine or something that could have saved someone's sister and uh, you lied to them for whatever reason. Or not even that. Let's make it even worse. Let's make it like an actual betrayal. Let's make it like, let's say I was trying to save my sister and I don't have a sister, but let's say I was trying to do that and I was developing this vaccine and it was almost in production and I was just about to save my sister and then you come in and for whatever reason you either break the vaccine or you steal it and sell it to the CIA or some shit. Um, just something ludicrous, right? And then as a result, my sister dies. That instantly takes the balance to minus like infinity, right? What amount of actions will you have to do towards me? What amount of things will you have to give me for you to compensate the damage that you've just caused? Even if you go extreme and you just went like 50 years of servitude, I probably still won't forgive you. And it's impossible to forgive someone who hasn't compensated their balance. You just can't. Any form of forgiveness of someone who has negative balance to you is a form of weakness and even further self-rejection, by the way. Because if someone has wronged you and they haven't, and if you forgive their mistake, or if you forgive their balance, who is paying for it? You! You're paying it out of pocket. So every single time you forgive when someone has wronged you, you're actually betraying yourself. You know what? That might actually be what fucked me up in the first place. Now that I think about it, I had this fucking hero complex, and in doing that, I was taking non-effective trades with people and paying them out of my own pocket. The way the world and just in general people have treated me, I was justifying it and paying it out of pocket. And over time, that made me have resentment towards myself. Once I realized that that's what I was doing, that fucking completely shut down. So when you're altruistic and you're forever doing things to match other people's interests, that always comes at a cost to yourself, and that makes you hate yourself in the end. Maybe that's why all of the kindest people are always the most like fucked up people mentally. In terms of how they see themselves, they're completely cruel to themselves. And generally, the people that are least cruel to themselves are also the least generous. They're the most like selfish, the most reserved people. I'm not saying that whether that's correct or wrong, I'm just making an observation. Actually, I would argue if I was more reserved, maybe, fuck, maybe I wouldn't have certain issues. Holy shit. I would prefer to be that person, right? But okay, let's say you find yourself with 1 million missing, right? That you were just cashing out and cost to yourself, and you're never going to get it back. And even if you don't forgive people, you still have minus 1 million. Like it doesn't really actually change anything. You've still taken a loss. You just lost, bro. Right? Okay, let's say you got scammed and you have minus 1 million missing. How do you begin to compensate that? I don't know, I'm just brainstorming. I'm not even explaining anything. I'm just brainstorming. How? What, I'm gonna start taking cold showers? Guys, we're just 1 million cold showers away from net zero. Always remember, the answer is cold showers. No, it's not cold showers. It's self-affirmations, boys. You need to look into the mirror and say, "You're beautiful. I love you. You look stunning today." Or maybe it's you need to just manifest it. But like genuinely, how do you do it? I feel like this should be super obvious, but I just don't have this base skill. It's just missing. And intuitively, my answer that isn't like a troll is starting to take actions that benefit you, aka start doing self-serving actions. What does that mean? Not compromising on self, not exercising self-restraint, not trying to be the better person. That's the start. I mean, I already kind of do that. Maybe I should do that to a greater extent. Um, hmm. Okay, what else? So removing restraint, just letting yourself be. What else would it be? Deliberately doing actions that better your life. I don't know, maybe cold showers, getting in shape, go to the gym, right? I mean, if you think about it, that could be it, depending how you engage with it. If you're forcing yourself into the cold showers, forcing yourself into the gym, and it feels like, ah, then is that going to make you? Isn't that another form of like self-sabotage or potentially also an escape? I feel like a lot of people use it as a distraction. What would be something more tangible, more actionable, and more reliable? Being on your side, like not being harsh on yourself, in a sense that, okay, let's say you're doing things and sometimes you fuck up. You can be either a teammate to yourself, or you can be like the number one hater. Oh, I can't believe you fucked up. Meh, meh, meh. Or you can be the constructive teammate, like oh, you fucked this up, but that's okay. That doesn't devalue you. But maybe try doing it this way, and then it'll be more effective. Maybe that positive kind of self-talk, positive self-engagement, that could be it as well. What else? Like in my situation, what are the actions I could possibly do to start creating some positive balance or start restoring the balance? Let's look at the things that ruined the balance and maybe we could extrapolate them and do the opposite. What were the things that made me ruin the balance? As I said, doing things, forgiving people, or taking. Ah, I know what it is. Okay, so what made me go so negative was entering a series of negative traits, surrounding myself with people that weren't offering me anything positive and never will, because they're just parasites. And forgiving those people, kind of like Jesus forgives people for their sins. Um, what would be the opposite of that? Entering a series of positive and constructive exchanges with people where you profit and you feel like you get um, a profitable exchange with them. Getting a profitable exchange doesn't mean fucking scamming people. It means that there are situations where both of you profit. So building positive relations with people, that could be one. I don't know how that's possible in modern society. You guys are fucked. You guys are fucking retarded. That's fucking really difficult. But yeah, that could be one of them. Um, what else made the balance go negative? Trying to push yourself and trying to push yourself in a sense of like trying to overcome yourself, trying to leave and destroy self. Like have extremely negative attitude towards self. Um, almost cruelty towards self, I would say. Extreme cruelty towards self. What's the opposite of that? What are you gonna start looking in the mirror and shouting affirmations? Maybe. I'm going to try it. But no cap. Maybe something like being able to enjoy your own presence. Something like you're gonna have some flaws, you're gonna have some attributes, and you're going to enjoy yourself as you are. You know? You know how sometimes you just have that friend who, you know, he's fucked up, you know, he's fucking, even his values might be completely against yours, but you just like them. Like you accept them for who they are. You're not gonna like, of course you wish them the best, but um, at the same time you're not the one to decide their life for them, and you just have nothing but positive emotions towards them, even though they're like deeply flawed, deeply fucked up. Maybe that form of self-engagement. I love myself no matter what. Or I don't know how to describe that kind of form of engagement. Whatever. Okay. What else destroys your sense? What else destroys your self-balance? Uh, not fulfilling promises. What does that mean? That means create an expectation for yourself, like, oh, by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna have a Lambo, and then you're 25 and you don't have a Lambo, and you're like, huh, I am a scammer. That creates terrible negative balance. Creating a promise and not fulfilling it. So fulfilling promises to self, that could be it. Um, if you were to think about it, there's also such thing as a barter skill. Like, if you genuinely really like someone, there's going to be higher leverage on them. For example, let's say I am completely neutral and partial to you. You spending 15 minutes with me is going to be maybe slightly negative balance or zero balance, nothing changed. But if I really enjoy your company, you're really funny or something, you bring joy into my life, um, then yeah, you spending time with me is going to raise the balance. I feel like you've brightened my mood, even though on paper both people did exactly the same thing. So, but is that a personal attribute or is it the fact that one person actually provided some value in form of being funny or something to that effect? Maybe both are true. I don't know. So maybe some form of being charismatic. Because what is being funny? That's a form of charisma. Being likable is a form of charisma. Being charismatic towards yourself. Finding ways of changing how you speak to yourself, or maybe even others, to be charismatic. Find ways of making things sound appealing, sound better than they are. Not necessarily scamming, but I don't know. Let's say you have a charismatic leader and he's telling you, we're going over the trenches and we're gonna put down the Germans. You know? Like imagine you're in fucking World War I or something, trench warfare, and you have this like tremendously charismatic, super cool leader, like heart of the people, vox populi, voice of the people, and he's like, charge! You know? You're gonna be way more enthusiastic about charging with a leader like that versus because you respect him and he's charismatic versus some guy who's like, okay, guys, time to go over the trenches and then you need to start running at the machine guns. And you, by the way, you go first, and I will sit here and um, hope that this works out, okay? Like some fucking retard with no like personal attributes that make you respect him or feel anything positive towards them. Some fucking nerd emoji, right? You're not going to be as enthusiastic to do the same thing towards them. But at the same time, that might be because of the balance thing. The charismatic leader, he's giving you something. What is the charismatic leader giving you that the non-charismatic leader not giving you? The charismatic leader is giving you something that makes you feel um, great about yourself, about taking some action. In a sense that, for example, a lot of hobos are super anti-charismatic. Uh, there's a lot of stories about ungrateful hobos and how just doing things for homos, homos, doing things for hobos is like you always get blown away by how entitled and just like how abrasive they are as people. They're like anti-charismatic. It feels like whenever you do something, you're doing it for some fucking piece of shit, and you wish you didn't do it in the first place. Um, but imagine if you were to give something to Hobo, and he's like, "Oh, thank you. that really means a lot. Just him painting that picture, allowing you to feel, um, like him just giving you the respect, allowing you to feel good about yourself for helping them, is going to completely change the kind of how the balance exchange occurs. So, being grateful, I guess, being uh, having dignity, being kind of humble. Okay, let's say you are humble, you have dignity, and you are this person. Is that the sole characteristics of charisma? I feel like charisma is, but I might be cross-referencing it. I might be not cross-referencing, misappropriating it, because the thing I might be mixing it up with is just someone who have a positive track record with. Like if someone has done a lot for you and you already have a positive balance to them, you're going to be more enthusiastic towards doing things for them. But that does not necessarily mean that they have great charisma. They just have more positive emotion towards them, I guess. But that's because of the balance. Charisma. I don't know. Maybe we'll move on from charisma. That's something I need to think about a bit more. Like finding ways. What do charismatic leaders do? They create an aesthetic where it actually becomes appealing to be a part of whatever they're saying. Like there's some legendary speeches from, I think there's one from Alexander the Great. Like imagine hearing that shit. You'll feel like you're fucking, you'll feel empowered by joining this cause. And imagine if I was your leader, I was like, you all are fucking losers. I hope you all die while charging this. Your lives don't mean anything to me. But I need this castle and I'm paying you. Go do it. Like, I have just devalued your sense of self. You're not gonna feel. You might fucking kill me. Like, holy fuck, the disrespect. Might revolt after such words. So, being able to leverage aesthetics or make things, I guess, charisma is a difficult one. There's really a lot of factors in it. There's also a degree of honesty or a degree of sincerity that always plays into aesthetics. For example, in World War I, one of the things that people had a problem with is the people giving the commands were some generals that were never on the front line. And when they gave orders, they felt insincere because you're not on the front line and you're the one who's making calls for us to risk our lives. Like, what the fuck? Um, it does feel very like insincere. But if you knew that, your commander is in the front line with you, he's leading the charge, you're gonna feel way more um, interested or engaged with it. Okay, we'll leave charisma for now. What else? What else creates a negative balance? We've talked about promises. We've talked about charisma. We've talked about making profit on engagement with others or making positive surplus. What else? What else is a negative? What is one of the reasons why my balance is so negative towards myself? think we talked about negative self-talk, but negative self-talk comes down to negative charisma, ways of devaluing yourself. Um, what else is there? Maybe seeing results from your actions. Maybe the reason why it's so negative to me now is because right now I feel like I've put in tremendous amount of effort, but I clearly didn't direct it well enough, or into the right things, because right now I don't have anything to show for it. I mean, I have, I guess, in the ways that I've changed to a point where I guess I can even coach people. I have like a insane level of understanding of a lot of things, but that's not really a physical, tangible resource. Like, who the fuck cares if you can coach someone or if you know a million things if you don't have a fucking physical return from it? It's very hard to value it. So maybe literally physical triggers, like monkey brain. Yeah, this is cool and all, but how many women you fuck? Hmm? How many children you have? Having children is probably something that makes the balance go crazy high. Actually, now that I think about it, it's like an infinite money glitch. That's actually really OP. That's it. We found the answer. Cold showers and having children, guys. Thanks for my coming to my TED talk. Be right back. I'm gonna have at least 5 children by the next fucking week. Um, if we were to think of one more, really, really put a stretch on it. Stretch it. Come on. What else could it be? I actually think I've exhausted most of them. I'm actually surprised to find so many. Yeah, I can't think of any more. I think that was enough. Brainstorming over ciao amigos.